all fairly familiar with the concept of losing the narrative. The idea of netizens getting so shallowly invested in their scrambling for attention around discussing a popular event or topic that the purpose of discussing the thing in the first place gets completely lost in a sea of clout chasing and desperate participation. It's like the game of telephone, but if everyone playing is actually watching a separate group playing through the window on the 5th floor while watching outside at ground level. And BL fan discourse, much like all other discourse, has its fair share of lost narratives from over the decades. Most notably the debates around the outdated, appropriated, and usage of terms like yaoi and shonen ai when describing BL media. Now, I'm not here today to ask why in the year of our Lord and Savior Shingiku Nakamura 2024, people are still unironically typing paragraphs explaining why yaoi, shonen ai, and BL are separate terms. I love myself too much. I'm not even here to be pretentious and tell you which terms you should use. No, I'm here today to talk about BL fandom's latest runaway Frankenstein's monster, Yaoi-Danmei. Here we go again. Now, chances are if you clicked on this video, you're familiar with the term yaoi in some capacity. You may use it to describe explicit BL media, you may use it as a joke term. You want to talk about lost narratives, you may even be familiar with some people on the internet fully believing that it is pronounced yaoi. Danmei, however, while gaining popularity in recent years, is a relatively new term to English-speaking BL fans. While BL is called BL in Japan, Korea, Thailand, Taiwan, and several other Asian countries, in China, and I say this in the loosest way possible, Danmei is basically the word for BL asterisk. Some of the most popular Danmei in recent years being the works of acclaimed author MXTX, such as Heaven's Official Blessing and the Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation. And I mean, shout out to Scum Villain's Wish or whatever it's called, but it's nowhere near as popular as the other two. It's the pre-Ragnarok Thor of the three. Y'all debate in the comments who are the big two, who's Tony and who's Steve, although I think we can all assume which is which. So BL and Danmei are loosely the same thing, which brings me to their unfortunate fusion. Now, I no longer have social media, I've never had a TikTok, and I had a Reddit only temporarily for a poll back in the day. Only those who know will know. But the in these toilets always flush their way to me somehow. Like this Reddit comment where someone says, and I quote, "Danmei is just the Chinese term for boys love in general, whereas yaoi is the Japanese term for hardcore BL, and shonen ai is the term for less explicit BL. So Tiangwan Sifu can be seen as Danmei of a more shonen ai nature, though I wouldn't classify it as pure shonen ai due to reasons, while Modao Zusha is explicit yaoi Danmei. What's next? Are we gonna start calling Heartstopper yaoi? It was inevitable for English speakers to find a way to classify Danmei into less and more explicit versions for people to seek out. It's why the appropriated usage of yaoi and shonen ai exists in the way they exist within English-speaking fandom today. Is this shonen ai? I want to talk about lost narratives, but not today! However, this term Yaoi-Danmei made me think about another nauseating aspect of Danmei discourse. That has me wondering just how many people who specifically seek out specifically just Danmei would actually want Yaoi-Danmei. Because from what I've seen, not all, but a lot of people seem to be seeking out Danmei specifically because it's not yaoi. Someone literally commented that on a video of mine years ago, and I wish I screenshot it at the time instead of blocking them for being a cornball. So before we proceed, let's just put things into perspective a little bit in regards to the mediums from which BL and Danmei are adapted from. When it comes to Japan, Japanese BL is most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, adapted from BL manga, regardless of the medium that it is adapted into. Whereas when it comes to Chinese Danmei, all Danmei comes from novels. Danmei novels may get adapted into manhwa, that's with a hua, not a hua, but novels are always the source from which these things are adapted from. Whereas in Japan, again, most of the time, regardless of whether it's being adapted into anime or it's being adapted into a drama, is coming from BL manga. Although there are some originals, but like when we talk about originals within BL anime, that's a whole other lost narrative we are not going to dive into today or try to seek. Dora is not here to help us. Whereas in Japan, there are also BL light novels, but at the same time, the predominant market is BL manga that is then adapted into whether it's anime or dramas. When it comes to Korean BL, usually manhwa is the source, but at the same time, I've found things like Walk on Water were actually manhwa adaptations. That's manhwa with the HWA. I found that Walk on Water is actually adapted from a novel, so it kind of can be a mix of the two over there as well. And Thailand and Taiwan are just not my area of expertise, so I literally have no clue. So taking all of that into account, as popular as any novel can be, ultimately the adaptations that are going to be the most popular amongst consumers because of consumer habits are going to be the adaptations that are in live action or animation in China being called donghua. And plenty of people read the novels, whether it be where they're published online in China or the fact that we have a lot of MXTX's novels and a lot of Danmei novels in the West being bestsellers. Ultimately, what has brought a a lot of people into consuming these novels at all, if they even consume them, is through watching them through the various live action and animated adaptations that have been available both legally and illegally in the West for quite some time. The Untamed, which is the drama adaptation of Modao Zusha, is available on Netflix for anybody globally. I think. I don't know. I don't have Netflix. And The Heaven Official's Blessing Donghua is available both on Netflix and on Crunchyroll. Originally, it was available on Funimation. Rest in peace. Now, again, an adaptation is an adaptation. We're familiar with adaptations in any way, shape, or form. But the most notable changes that are made within Danmei adaptations specifically is the fact that despite being novels whose whole appeal to most people, not all, but let's be honest, most people, is the boys loving, is the fact that these adaptations, whether in donghua or in live-action dramas, are censored to hell by the CCP because of their stance on homosexuality. No hugs, no kisses, no segs. Yama something or other 3 times, but the Chinese version. Now, not everybody seeking out Danmei enjoys Danmei more than BL for the same reasons. There's plenty of BL fan overlap with Danmei consumers as well. But as I've highlighted before when talking about the current state of BL adaptations and BL fan discourse and all this MLM fetishizer stupid bullshit, it says a lot to me when the Go Girl Give Us Nothing of queer representation gets propped up as better than the alternative, which actually shows physical intimacy between male characters. Also ironic to see a lot of these accurate representation types talk about Danmei, who usually don't like the fact that BL is by women for women, but at the same time Danmei is literally the same marketing as by women for women as BL. But go off, dumb. We love the inconsistency. Plenty of people do read the Danmei novels. They wouldn't be bestsellers and if they weren't. But again, the predominant consumers of these things are going to be the consumers of specifically the donghua and the live action, as well as the manhwa, because you know people can't read. So to say that Danmei donghua adaptations are the better representation than BL anime adaptations, when the only confirmation we get of this couple being a couple is an off-screen confirmation that the couple is a couple, is that not just shipping 2 guys in a sports anime, but with added author confirmation? Everyone has different preferences for one type of media or medium or genre over another, but it's another thing when you have negative feelings towards explicit depictions of queerness, regardless of who is writing it. Because I guarantee you that there is overlap between these anti-fetishization types who prop up Danmei and the people who claim to want representation but don't like or consume gay komi and dumb it all down to being just porn. It is so much more than because subliminally they may have come to understand and reject the simple fact that gay is gay representation, especially when we're inundated with straight everywhere all the time. And the solution is not less in general, it's more varied overall everywhere, and more just in general, all the time, everywhere. Who's coming? Now to be clear, I don't hate Danmei. This is not all Danmei fans. I love Danmei myself. Absolutely love Modao Zusha. Zhe Yao is one of my favorite things of all time. I will at some point be picking up Scum Villain's Wish, and I know that's not actually its name, but it's what it should be called. And of course, even beyond that, I have several other Danmei donghua in my plan to watch list. Like, when are we getting a Momo donghua adaptation? I've been looking into that. I've seen the art. Very intrigued, very interested, very into the premise. Donghua what Donghuen. So I wanted to get all of that out of the way so that I could get to the secret purpose of this video. Appropriation. I'm a white man. It's the only thing we're good at. So overall, Yaoi-Danmei is still a dumb word. But within the context of everything that I just talked about, and in the desire to be a foolish troll, I've decided that I want to appropriate Yaoi-Danmei in the true spirit of the term yaoi into being something that it is not, but also that it is, but also it wasn't a thing in the first place. And I mean, words don't really mean anything anymore. Y'all call literally everything a meme. So if Danmei implies homoeroticism, but homoeroticism without, this is such a hard word to say, homoeroticism without the typical displays of affection, hagunashi, kisunashi, segzunashi, we're building lore, and yaoi in an English-speaking connotation implies hardcore homoeroticism, then when paired with Danmei, it must mean hardcore implied homoeroticism, which means I think we all know plenty of Yaoi-Danmei, but how much Yaoi-Danmei do you really know?
It's been a while. I know I shouldn't have kept you waiting.
Now we can't officially launch this Yaoi-Danmei concept without its own iceberg now, can we? Leave your favorite Yaoi-Danmei in the comments below. I'm sure there's going to be plenty that I missed because I'm not gonna list everything because there is so much. Now keep in mind, as we descend the iceberg, the anime is going to get more obscure, but also so is the Yaoi-Danmei. So obviously at the tip, we have all the obvious options. We all know these are Yaoi-Danmei. This is the Yaoi-Danmei starter kit. Yuri on Ice, Banana Fish, Sarazanmai, Dramatical Murder. I don't need to tell you why the animation differs from the visual novel. Number 6, Fairy Ranmaru, Jeweler Richard, My New Boss is Goofy, Tiger and Bunny, Samurai Flamenco, Black Butler, Oku, Evangelion Movie 3 with that piano metaphor scene, Hitalia, Chisai Senpai, Anything by Clamp, the original MXTX if we're being honest, and of course, Sasaki to Miyano. Obscuring a kiss in a BL anime, where BL stands for Boy's Life, might as well be Communist China. Now let's take the plunge into the first depth that I like to call, is this shonen ai? Gaku and Babysitters. Hayaryu is basically Hualien. Kyokara Mao, that's what I call The Marginal Service with its very own Lan Saji. Cool Doji Danshi Danmei. Kamino Hashiran. They need a detective to help them find a hole. The Case Files of Lord L. Longing. And of course, popular sports anime like Free, Kuroko no Basket, Diamond no Ace, Big Wind Up, Haikyuu. And speaking of popular sports anime, as we dive into the next depth, we enter the section that I like to call Blue Lock Fujoshi. Now we're getting into a mix of lesser known and or Yaoi-Danmei so deep you might not understand it, because I don't. Obviously, first is Blue Lock. There's also more sports anime that are less popular, but more potent. Tsurune, which is Free's more than worthy successor. Bakuten, Aoyama-kun, number 24, Overtake. Days Gaze, Cheer Danchi, Queer Danchi, Gunjo no Fanfare, Gunjo Yes Fanfact, Major Second Danmei, Love All Play in Reeman's Club. You can't spell badminton without Yaoi-Danmei, at least in Chinese. Yatagarasu, Boy Wife Recruitment and Binding Crow Shifters by their third leg. Is this not Aino Kusabi? Iron-Blooded Orphans, Kill Your Gays, and I mean leave none of them alive. Natsume's Book of Boyfriends, new season this fall, time to catch up. Beyond the Boundary, and yet still so far behind it. Of course, male idol anime, Idolish 7, A3, Side M, On Stars, Utapri, Unite Up, Hip Mike, Paralive, Kawagoe Boys Sing, Star Mew, B Pro, and of course, Eternal Boys, the old man Yaoi-Danmei. What else could we call the deepest depth of the Yaoi-Danmei iceberg anything other than Kagurabachi Dude Bros? Few people ride harder for Fujoshi than Kagurabachi stands, because of course they can acknowledge that no matter how hidden, the Yaoi-Danmei is still there. Full circle from the Buchigiri video, hear more of my thoughts about it there. Megami no Daigo! Piano no Mori, clearly Kaoru's inspo. The King's Avatar, who would have known that it's an esports harem? Us. That's who, because these are yaoi hands. Daomu Biji, because you have to wait 11 episodes to understand why Pingxie is the most popular ship in China, and most people don't last that long. Fate Prototype Fragments of Silver Boy Wives, NTR. Lesbian cheating in the front, Yaoi-Danmei in the back. Sound euphonium. So if BL is lesbian, if BL is lesbians, then lesbians are yaoi, which means that subliminal lesbians are Yaoi-Danmei. Eager of Two Dragons, go f yourself, Dan Hung. And I mean it. Initial D. The D is for Danmei. The initial Danmei. And the I is for Killing Stalking. Some people say, I like it as a thriller, but it's not BL. And you're right, it's not BL. It's the Powerpuff Girls. What do you think is in Chemical X? And there's few things more hardcore than American Lolly. Nicholas Sparks movies. Being gay is basically a terminal illness. Statistically. Now that we've cleared that up, defined a new term, there can't possibly be— Mama told me get the gun. You know what? Forget it. It's over. What's next, Barabina? Of course, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this season's currently airing Yaoi-Danmei, head over to my Patreon to listen to the 3-episode ruling podcast where I share my feelings on current seasonal anime that's currently airing. There's quite a few Yaoi-Danmei. Oh hey, new day, new outro, and I look like Halloween. I technically filmed this video like a month ago, before Blood Domination, which the old outro was promoting. Obviously, if you haven't already, buy Blood Domination. I'm not sure what the next video is going to be. It's either gonna be— what is it gonna be? One more video for Pride after this. Ideas I'm floating around. One, I do like an anime for every letter in the Scarlet acronym, LGBTQIA+, but with like all the letters, because there's like, what, 10 of them or some shit. So I do an anime for every letter. Or two, I talk about citrus. What do you think, Oni-sama? We'll see. A video will be out next before Pride is over though. Bye!